Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the LightWork Software team to learn more about the essentials for performance management planning. If you have any questions at any point during this presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat or question box and we'll answer them as we go. This webinar is being recorded and the link will be sent out in the post-webinar email along with the survey that we use to raffle off a gift card. My name is Morgan Lacey. I spend my weeks connecting with professionals that administer the performance management process, and I look forward to sharing with you what I have learned in my years of working with companies of different industries and sizes. I truly believe that performance management can be more than just an annual review. So I'm going to review the best practices and tips that I have learned that I hope that you can share with your team in preparation for the 2024 performance management process. My goal here today is to review the foundations of performance management planning to help you and your team prepare for a more effective process in 2024. We're going to review the importance of guiding managers and engaging employees and the tools that you can use to document and rate employee performance. I'm also excited to announce that we're partnered with the team at Spirence and they're going to provide free employee and family mental health resources for our group here today. So make sure you check out our follow-up email so you can access the resources that we reference in our presentation today. So let's start by talking about what an effective performance management process is and how it affects your team's ability to engage and participate. In the last few years, I've seen a shift in companies' focus and strategy when it comes to performance management. Where in the past, performance management was just an annual review that had results but no actions, companies are now seeing the value of open and ongoing communication with their workforce and are seeking the tools to allow managers and their employees to engage and communicate about their performance throughout the year. Providing the resources and tools for leaders and their workforce to collaborate and communicate can have a major effect on things like productivity and employee retention. It's been so exciting seeing companies take a step back and look at how they can use performance management to not only rate employees and provide feedback, but also as a tool to set expectations and promote accountability. Communication has so much value. It's arguably the most important skill that people can have in the workplace. Making communication a priority in performance management is such a great way to add value to your team's process. Whether it's gathering or providing feedback, every team can benefit from open and ongoing communication. This effort to prioritize communication will allow employees to more easily engage and participate in the performance management process as it has become more of a resource to guide and support them. Performance management is a tool to identify strengths and areas of weakness in your workforce. But it can also be a great way to retain and support your employees in every role. Managers are such a crucial part of the performance management process, and I think sometimes it's more of a burden than a blessing for them, but I think it's because they have insight to accurate and fair, as far as to accurately and fairly rate employees, they have the most insight. And I think a lot of companies miss a really important part of the process, and that is guiding managers to be successful and supported through the process. Managers deserve transparency and communication. They should know the when, why, and how of the performance management process. If leaders have the expectation that managers are going to engage and communicate with their employees throughout the performance management process, then it's important for there to be guidelines when communicating. Some companies require managers to conduct one-on-one check-ins with employees, but they sometimes forget the importance of specifying not only how often, but what those meetings should include content-wise. Making sure the time managers and employees spend together communicating and collaborating is productive can be as easy as providing a list of prompts or even goals for those meetings. I think one of the most important things that you can do for managers is providing them with an action plan. So once managers have the results of the review, survey, or the one-on-one, they should know what their options are to go advocate and support their employees. Managers have the power to make change and advocate for their employees. Without giving them an avenue to take action, you can lose a lot of value in the performance management process. The first step to getting employees engaged in the performance management process is getting managers participating and taking action with results. Engaging employees in performance management seems to be a struggle no matter the industry. But as I mentioned, there has been a shift to the process that I think is going to eventually lead to employees being able to more easily embrace it. The shift to make the performance management process be more of a tool to develop and support employees, I think is going to have a major effect on morale and retention for any company who is willing to make that shift. Committed and focused employees are very valuable, and performance management is a great way to promote both of those characteristics. Tools that allow employees to set, track, and maintain their own performance is an investment in the employee experience because it shows an investment in the employee's success. Developing and supporting employees isn't always easy and straightforward. It's important to have the different tools to track employee development to see where leaders need to provide additional guidance or even recognition. Performance management doesn't have to solely be about constructive feedback. It's incredibly beneficial to provide recognition to employees as they achieve their goals or share good ideas. I think that step is missed so much in performance management because it gets overshadowed by leaders only focusing on what needs to be improved. Engaging employees in performance management is more than getting them to rate their own performance. It's allowing them to share feedback, knowing it's going to be acknowledged. Just like managers, employees deserve communication in the performance management process. They should know when it's happening and what they're going to be rated on. If you want employees to engage in the performance management process, then my number one tip is not making it a surprise. Let them know what the goal of the performance management process is for your team and what they're going to be rated on and giving feedback on in reference to their performance. Another suggestion that I have for a successful performance management process is documentation for managers and their employees. Documenting observable behaviors throughout the year is the best way to give fair and accurate ratings. This helps avoid common rating errors like recency, meaning that reviewers are only able to remember what recently happened with the employee, not their entire year's worth of performance. I actually have a past webinar on our YouTube channel that I'm going to link in our follow-up email that reviews common rating errors in performance management and how you can actually avoid them. And I know that documenting performance isn't always convenient, and I know most of us tell ourselves that we'll remember, and that might be somewhat true. But there's a chance that you could miss key details that are important in the unfortunate circumstance that you have to terminate an employee. Incident details can be crucial when going through the termination process. Providing the tools for managers and their employees to document and organize performance details throughout the year is an investment in the performance management process and your team's success. Put yourself in your employee's shoes. Would you want someone to rush through the performance management evaluation and provide feedback on what you did on maybe the last few weeks? Or would you rather someone take the time to review the documentation of your entire year's performance prior to rating you on things like skills and knowledge? If your team is going to invest time in the performance management process, it's important to ensure that time is spent providing fair and accurate feedback. Without that step, you can go through the whole entire process and not have a real picture of your workforce's strengths and areas of weakness. Feedback is a major part of the performance management process. So I wanted to share a few of these stats here to start to paint a picture of the effect that feedback can have on things like productivity and retention rates and things like company culture. There really is no substitution for feedback. It's what allows us to learn and grow more effectively. Companies that shy away from feedback can struggle to develop their employees and their business. So starting at the top here, 65% of employees are desiring more feedback. That's such a big number. 69% of employees say they would work harder if they felt their efforts were being recognized through feedback. And last, 43% of highly engaged employees receive feedback at least once a week. So let's start with the value of gathering feedback. I can say as an employee, I appreciate when the leaders on our team reach out looking for feedback. It creates a sense of value and appreciation for my concerns and suggestions. And if you've been at a company for several years, you might have insight that leaders might not have when they aren't in the day-to-day. The shift that I've seen with performance management and its more employee-focused process has included an interest in providing surveys for employees. Whether those are provided to new hires or tenure employees, there's a lot of value in giving employees a way to formally provide feedback throughout their career. New hire surveys are a great way to learn about employees' preferences for feedback and where they need additional support or resources. I know it can be intimidating for some companies to put themselves in a position to receive feedback from employees, but it's getting out of that comfort zone that's going to allow them to learn and grow, just like their employees do from getting feedback. Gathering feedback on things like company culture can have a huge impact on a company's ability to grow. And without that insight into things like toxic culture, companies can struggle with high turnover rates and costly hiring fees. Giving employees a voice to express their ideas and suggestions can allow them to more easily invest and commit to the work they're doing. Now, I do want to add a very important part of the process of gathering feedback from employees that I think some companies initially miss, and that is taking no action or at least acknowledging the concerns or requests made by employees. That unfortunately leads to employees no longer being interested in providing feedback, and the process of gathering feedback loses its value. So if you plan to gather feedback from your employees, if that is your plan, the second part of that plan should always be that what your team is going to do to take action or acknowledge what employees have shared. If you want to learn more about engaging employees with surveys, I will have our past webinar promoting employee engagement with surveys linked in the follow-up email from today's presentation. Providing feedback can be such a great tool in the performance management process, but there are a few things that everyone, no matter their role, should keep in mind when providing feedback. The first bullet point here, I think, is what sets the tone in general of being private and genuine. But I would say there's 3 bullet points altogether here are a great thing to share with anyone, no matter what role they are in your team. I have a note on my desk that says you're never too busy or important to be nice. I think that statement alone should be top of mind when providing feedback. A lot of us work in such a fast-paced world, and slowing down to communicate has become less and less of a focus. But I think that when providing feedback, it's so important to make sure that feedback isn't delivered in public or out of frustration. And that can be hard when you're busy and things feel like they're falling apart at work. But slowing down to make sure that employees or even peers are getting the respect and communication they deserve when providing feedback can have a major impact. People make mistakes or fall behind. How we handle that as leaders can impact employee morale and retention. Ensuring that feedback is forward-focused and goal-oriented is a great way to show the person receiving feedback that you're there to work through it with them and have a plan to get things back on track. Now, of course, there are times where feedback has to happen in the moment, and there isn't time to set goals or make a plan. But that's when it's even more important to be professional and private as possible. Feedback can be powerful in the workplace, and when done with genuine intention, it can shape a strong and productive dynamic between managers and employees. The things that I have listed here seem like common sense, but when we get busy and frustrated, these things seem to fade quickly. So, Remind leaders that they set the tone for how feedback is provided in the workplace, and that these are the things they need to keep in mind to make sure that it's constructive and successful. Performance management really thrives off of engagement and communication. Without the tools to have open and ongoing communication, leaders can struggle to engage their employees. So let's review some of the tools in the performance management process that can help leaders provide focus and organization. Setting goals is a great way to provide focus and accountability throughout the performance management process. Including details such as due date and priority on each goal can also help set expectations and allow employees to manage their own time and efforts. Whether your team sets goals annually or monthly, providing details such as status can provide managers insight into where their team might need some additional support to meet deadlines. Every industry and team looks at goals differently. Some goals are in the day-to-day, and some of them are the goals for the quarter or maybe even the year. But no matter the cadence of the goal, adding details can help provide focus and guidance for employees. Setting expectations in the workplace is important, and goals are a great tool to accomplish that. I even suggest that teams have employees set at least one personal goal along with their work goal, because asking employees what they'd like to accomplish outside of work lets them know they're viewed as a person with a life and not just an employee or a number. Setting goals can seem intimidating and time-consuming for some companies, but they're a great foundation to help companies and their employees grow. As I mentioned, setting goals looks different for every industry, role, or even department. But no matter how often you set them, goals should always be discussed and agreed upon by the employee and the manager to ensure that the employee has the skills and resources to accomplish the goals set for them. SMART goals are becoming more popular. I'm sure most of our group here today is familiar, but if you're not, there will be a resource in the follow-up email talking about the different components of SMART goals. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But setting goals is for every role. So define what you'd like to accomplish, include details that allow you and your team to track and maintain your efforts, and you'll find a more efficient and effective performance management process. Now, we've talked about gathering and providing feedback today, so I want to highlight surveys as a great tool to engage and support employees in the performance management process. Starting with new hires. By providing a formal way to request support or resources from their manager, employees are better able to communicate and collaborate with their leaders from the start. 30, 60, and 90-day new hire surveys are a great tool to give new hires a chance to express any concerns or requests as they're onboarding. This insight could help companies determine if new hires are a good fit for culture or the role and adjust accordingly. Having insight into a department's struggles can be priceless when it comes to creating a growth strategy for a company. For some leaders, it's hard to get over the fear of receiving the feedback about company culture or policy, but true leaders are open to feedback in an effort to grow. Long-term employees have a lot of insight into the day-to-day of their team's department, so giving them the opportunity to express their concerns or suggestions is a great way to promote employee retention. Now, if you're looking for some ideas for content for surveys, the webinar that I referenced before on engaging employees with surveys has some examples that can help you get started for new hire and long-term employee survey questions. So gathering feedback can be valuable in any industry, and engaging and communicating through surveys is a great way to accomplish it. As I mentioned, some leaders shy away from providing them because of the accountability it puts on their plate to acknowledge or take action on the feedback. But if leaders want their team and their company to grow, they have to be willing to ask what they can improve upon in the workplace. The dreaded performance review. Now, it is no secret that most people don't look forward to having their performance rated. And I think that's because for most employees, it's just an opportunity to get unhelpful feedback instead of support for their areas of weakness. A performance review can be a powerful tool in the performance management process if it's used to provide forward-focused feedback and guidance for employees. It should be more than just rating on a scale. It should be an opportunity to connect managers and their employees to review the status of their goals, talk about their achievements, and provide ratings based on documented, observable behavior. If your team goes through their annual review process to just rate employees and do nothing with the results, then you might not agree that the statement it's a powerful tool in the workplace. But if you use the annual review as a way to learn about where your employees need support and an opportunity to provide recognition for their hard work, you'll find employees that feel valued and appreciated by this process. I've been on the other end of a surprise performance review, and I'm sure many of you here today have as well. And it does not feel like it is meant to support or engage you. So that's why I'm so excited about the shift that I'm seeing for leaders to communicate and engage their employees instead of just rating them. Whether performance reviews are annual, semi-annual, or even weekly for your team, there has to be a component of communication and engagement for it to be effective. LightWork Performance Management is a web-based and user-friendly platform that allows employees and their managers to easily access and participate in the performance management process. So if you would like to connect with me, if you'd like to learn more about the LightWork Performance Management platform and that solution and the functionality that lives within it, please feel free to use the link in the follow-up email to schedule an appointment with me, and I will be happy to connect. All right, to get us wrapped up here today, I have something that I'm so excited to share with you guys. The wonderful team at Spirence has partnered with our team here at LightWork to provide you and your team with some wonderful free resources. Spirence is an employee and family mental health literacy platform that serves the entire employee population. 75% of the workforce's mental health care needs are underserved in the gap between general EAP services and expensive acute care. But Spirence delivers an affordable, accessible, and high-quality platform. They offer live and on-demand webinars and a wide variety of mental health topics, such as personalized behavior healthcare coaching. Now, in the follow-up email from today's presentation, you'll find links that take you to a sample of a family support session that reviews things like signs and symptoms of depression in a loved one, how to ask for positive feedback in relationships, boundaries in relationships, and family systems. The Spirence team has also provided resources for stress management, mindfulness, and resilience from their mental well-being library. As I mentioned, if you're interested in reviewing these resources, they will be linked in the follow-up email from today's presentation, as well as a way to request additional information about the Spirence team. We hope these resources and the information I shared with you today helps your team prepare for a more successful 2024. Thank you again for joining us. As always, you can find our team here every month, sharing best practices in performance management and other workplace themes. Oh, don't forget to fill out our survey and follow us on all social media. If you'd like more information about LightWork Performance Management or to learn more about our integration with Sage and Acumatica, please feel free to reach out to our team through the link in our follow-up email, or you can find us at www.lightworksoftware.com. Thank you again to the Spirence team for partnering with us. And with that, I hope you and your team have an efficient and effective performance management process in 2024.